Good morning, y'all. I am here to tell you, as plainly as I can, that these shoelaces are fluorescent green. I also have a few other things to say. So, today at lunch, I set a marvelous example at the family table. The wife and I got in a very heated discussion about cucumber sandwiches. It was claimed by the party in the wrong, my wife, that cucumber sandwiches not only are made with cream cheese in the standard, but that they have always been made with cream cheese. And piling in on top of that was my daughter, who told me that her American Girls cookbook, full of authentic recipes, had a recipe for cucumber sandwiches with cream cheese from the late Victorian era. The party on the right informed them that cream cheese was invented around that time, in the late Victorian era, and that cucumber sandwiches had existed for a long time before that. Heated discussion ensued. I pulled out my phone. Now, I of course ended up proving that cream cheese had been invented around a certain time, in 1880 or 1870. But that didn't close the deal for me. And on top of that, I then opened myself up to the accusation of, why are you getting so emotional about this? Why do you hate cream cheese so much? And the truth is, of course, that I do hate cream cheese. I think it's a food of the devil. People put it in sushi because they hate sushi. The only thing that cream cheese is good for is delicious New York style cheesecake. So, not an hour later, my oldest son, my oldest daughter, and I went out to run a couple of errands before I went back to work. And I complimented my daughter's shoes as we left. We walked down the street, started walking, and said, "Hey, those are cool shoes, those look good, they're fun." They are fun. And my daughter said, "Yeah, at first I wasn't sure if I would like neon yellow or fluorescent yellow shoelaces. But it turns out I did." And I said, At the same time, my son said, "Fluorescent green." Now look, these are fluorescent green, but so what? So of course, like any good parent, I ignored the example I had set just an hour before and told my son the truth. And this is today's truth. That sometimes it's okay to just let people be wrong. It's okay to let someone say that these shoelaces are fluorescent yellow, especially when it's sort of beside the point. What was the point of the conversation? That these shoes look sweet. They look sweet as they are, regardless of what word you use to describe the way the light reflects off these shoelaces. The same is true of the conversation we'd had about cream cheese. And it's not the relativity of the truth that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what happens when you don't let people be wrong. You can turn conversations toxic, and you're showing a lack of respect for people. So what did I tell my son as we talked about this walking down the street? I told him that he was taking the first steps down the road to Asshole Dome. Asshole Dome. Don't go to Asshole Dome, people. The first steps down the road to assholedom, to being a jerk. Don't go there, my son. Don't be the kind of person who can't just let a small thing pass, a small misperception, a small mispronunciation, a poor choice of words. So there are asshole tests out there. You know, you can check yourself and even others. And how people pronounce things is a great way of testing that. And, I did a video a couple years back about the pronunciation of Augustine. Say, have you ever read St. Augustine's The City of God? You mean Augustine? Yeah, of course, but have you ever read Augustine? Augustine. Another favorite word of mine to flush out the assholes is the word macabre. Okay, so understand first of all that I'm Latin, I'm Brazilian, and I have my backstory. I studied French in junior high. I homeschooled. I have my little weirdnesses for how I pronounce things. I pronounce the R in macabre. It's an effort for me not to say macabre. Because that R, for me to go, that ain't hard. It's actually quite natural for me. It wouldn't be difficult for me to say macabre. But I don't. I say macabre. And I have had several times in my life, people just automatically, this is the thing that's awesome about this, and I fight against it too. When you're being this type of asshole, you just automatically correct the person. So I say macabre, and the other person says macabre. Macabre. Y'all, if you look at Merriam-Webster, the only pronunciation listed for that word, the only pronunciation recorded for that word is in fact macabre. But if you look at the little phonetic bits, there are a couple of pronunciations that include a nod at the R. If you look in British dictionaries, the R is there first. I'm not telling you that I'm right. I'm telling you that you're wrong. It's okay that I say it differently. And one of the things this reveals is a massive insecurity. People have insecurities about being right, about being perceived to be right. In fact, maybe part of this asshole impulse is that they would be extremely embarrassed it's like pointing out the spinach in someone's teeth. But it also reveals a sort of pride, like, you're really sure. I mean, you're so sure this is green, really sure. And on top of that, you're sure it's important that the other person know that it's green and not yellow. You're really sure that it has to be Augustine and not Augustine. You're really sure it has to be macabre instead of macabre. Y'all, it's okay. It's even okay if I'm wrong to say Augustine and macabre. It's even okay if I claim this is yellow. Just let it go. Just let it go. I've really had to suppress this impulse in me. I mean, I think it's in all people to be a know-it-all. I think males especially struggle with this. I still often behave as a know-it-all, but I've really had to suppress the instinct because I'm a teacher. And I'm a teacher of languages to people who are not native speakers. So I don't teach Spanish to Spanish speakers. I teach Spanish to Americans. I teach English to Germans, to Brazilians. So I operate in this world where people are always wrong about a lot of things. And if I'm going to be an effective teacher, I'm going to have to decide, okay, well, you know what? I'm in a position where it would be correct, or I would have the authority to correct, boop, 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 down the line. But then I realize that's not productive. This person needs to talk to me. They need to converse. They need to be able to practice their English. And if I stop them every second word to correct their pronunciation, they're not going to get anywhere. I will actually be tearing them down. I will be destroying them. So I let it go and I work certain things. I emphasize certain things. But of course, only because I have the authority. This is not to say that we never correct anyone, but it's to say to question your own motivations and to really correct each other in love about things that are important. That doesn't necessarily mean only correct someone who's about to step in front of a car, but it means that we have to recognize some things aren't even the first step on a slippery slope. If someone thinks this is yellow, they're not going to go anywhere bad because of that. There is actually no harm in this. There's very little harm in saying macabre. The only harm that can come out of saying macabre is that you're going to run into know-it-alls who are going to try to correct you when you're just trying to have a conversation. So yeah, we can correct each other, we can help each other out, and it's the spirit of the moment especially that ought to be our guide. A good way to recognize whether the spirit of the moment is healthy or not is whether you pull out your phone and how people react when you pull out your phone. Cream cheese argument at the lunch table, I pull out my phone. Why did I pull out my phone? Because I was being an asshole. It was more important to me that I prove to everyone that cream cheese was invented in the 1870s or whatever, than that we have a laugh around the lunch table. Ha 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 ha, cucumber sandwiches. That would have been a valuable moment. For goodness sakes, we were arguing about cucumber sandwiches. That's hilarious. It ought to have been funny, and instead I turned it toxic because I valued the wrong things. So yeah, recognizing the spirit of the moment. Be very careful, y'all, about pulling out your phone. And let's avoid knee-jerk corrections. Maybe listen, let the person finish the sentence before you correct them. That'll be our first step, okay? So that'll be what we resolve to do this week. When people say something wrong, we're going to let them finish their sentences. All right, y'all. The peace of Christ be upon you.